When the individual entered the United States and is seeking asylum, what do they grant him?
Are you going to talk about how they issued them a receipt to show up at their case and you're talking about
They
relief?
give them temporary protective status.
Yeah,
right.
but they're waiting for their case to be adjudicated.
Of course, yeah.
So it would have been nice if we had more judges to adjudicate these cases like the border bill would have given us. So if after 4 years, if Trump doesn't have an immigration bill, do you think that would have been a failure of this administration?
I think that if they don't reform the asylum and close the loopholes when it comes down to asylum now that we don't have the crisis at the southern border, I think that'll be a failure by the administration. Absolutely. But it's a whole,
Then we'll wait and see what happens in 4 years when they don't have another border bill.
Well, we'll come back here in about 3.5 years.
Okay. Even if you did care ostensibly about some conservative platform, Trump has just done bad things for every part of what you could possibly care about.
Like immigration?
I would say probably, yeah.
Yeah. How so?
I think that when you rule by executive order, it can be rescinded by executive order. If all of his benefits at the border are just because of EOs that he's issued and he hasn't been able to champion or pass any kind of comprehensive immigration reform, I don't think it speaks well.
Be able to deter the crisis that was happening at the southern border under the previous administration?
I mean, it depends on if you believe it was a crisis or not.
Well, the average American for consistently over a year said that the immigration, specifically what is happening at the southern border, is one of the most important issues for them. Why is that? If it's not a crisis?
Because I think Republicans told them.
And they also told Democrats as well, who are polled for saying more than 70% of the average Americans say that they don't want illegal immigrants crossing our border, especially taking advantage of various programs that we have here, whether they are Republicans or Democrats. So I'll ask you again, how is he able to deter illegal migrants from crossing the border at such a high level without passing any policy, any executive order, or whatever it is?
Well, I think there's a lot less people coming to America now, period. Tourism is down like 80% across almost every
We're not
country.
talking about tourism.
No, but I'm just saying in general, like people are...
southern border.
Yeah, I'm just saying people, well, I mean, if less people are even trying to come here, then I imagine illegal crossings are probably down as well. I'm just saying that it's hard to believe that Americans genuinely care about a problem when, one, Trump killed the bill outside of office when Biden was in for his last year, and then nothing has been proposed in the meantime. And then two...
Again, but you don't need to reform the system in order to deter illegal migrants from wanting to come to the southern border, first of all, and then to illegally enter our country, right?
Sure. Was the goal just to bring illegal immigration to zero?
I don't know what is the goal of Democrats. All I look at it is from a...
Well, no, but I'm saying for Trump, I thought the goal was to like do something different with the immigration system to deal with like the 20 million illegal immigrants that are supposedly here already.
Sure. That is after the previous administration completely disregarded the rule of law and allowed so many people to come into their country and abuse asylum law. So instead of reforming the system, which I'm all for, when there is a crisis, do you reform the system or do you deter the crisis from happening?
So I don't think that there was a crisis.
What is 50,000 illegal immigrants crossing the border illegally, not through a port of entry, every single day, amounting to 3 million people illegally entering the country over a year? What do you call that? What do you tell the New Yorkers, the Chicago people, the Detroit people who aren't your traditional Republicans, going to council city meetings, stiffen it into their mayors, doing what?
If this was so much of a crisis, then why did Republicans kill the bill to cap the amount of illegals coming over?
We just saw that you didn't need a bill in order to deter illegal migrants from coming to the
EO, but we also see that when you do things via executive order, the judiciary will challenge you on a lot of stuff that you do. So why not do it with legislation?
What did this administration do differently in the first 30 days when it came down to illegal crossings that the previous administration didn't do?
Well, they're issuing harsh executive orders. And then two, I think America in general is a less attractive place to flee to at the moment.
It's a less.
But again, I think
when you have metropolitan cities giving you free everything,
nobody in America gets free everything.
Nobody in America gets free anything.
Free everything. Nobody's getting free everything.
Okay, I didn't say everything, but whatever.
Okay.
When an individual on the previous administration crossed the border illegally, not through a port of entry, what did they do with the individual?
It depends on if they meet a border guard and they try to claim asylum. It depends on if they're sneaking in through.
Okay.
But before this, before this, I was saying before, if this was a crisis, it's very strange that there was a huge piece of legislation originally authored by a Republican that both halves of Congress are ready to support, and then it got shot down. And
what was that bill going to do to deter illegal migrants from coming to the southern border in the same way that they are not doing so now?
Well, it codified into law the same type of caps that President Trump is trying to put on.
We don't need caps right now, right? To deter migrants.
Well, one of the issues with the asylum seeking process was people could come forward in like these huge amounts of like record-breaking numbers and claim asylum. And if you had too many people that were doing this, you had too many people trying to claim asylum, one of the things the bill would have done was let you cap it and put a moratorium on it and stay for 2 weeks.
We both agreed that there's an issue with the asylum process and people taking advantage of it. Mm-hmm. But when you have 15,000 people coming in on a daily basis,
that bill would have prevented that.
That would have not done a single... Okay, let me ask you this. We didn't pass a bill. We didn't reform the system whatsoever.
Yep.
And we deterred it by 99.8%.
And all the people that claim asylum seeking are still in this country. They're not gone. They're still here.
I don't care about them
I do care. You don't. So what's a crisis then? So it wasn't a crisis then. At least we agree on that. Yeah.
What is the primary issue at the southern border previously under the previous administration? Is it the problem when they're already in the United States, or is it before they actually come into the United States?
The asylum seeking process.
What is the primary issue?
The asylum seeking process was the primary issue.
So you don't think that people entering the country, you don't think that people wanting and being incentivized to come up to the southern border from all over the world, not just South America, but from all over the world, is not a problem? That's not the primary issue? Why do you care about
the reason why they
were already in the United States?
The reason why they were incentivized was because people realized, especially after COVID, that the asylum process was super abuseful.
What did former President Biden do right after COVID in terms of immigration-related law? He pulled out of the...
Are you going to say remain in Mexico?
Yeah.
So how many people did you say? Wait. How many people did you say a year were coming over illegally, or a day? You said 15,000.
15,000.
I think remain in Mexico was responsible for like 60,000 people.
Remain in Mexico do?
Remain in Mexico. First of all, we're not just going to play a quiz game, but I'll explain it since you like to ask so many questions.
No.
So remain in Mexico made it so that it came to the United States
from coming to the southern border.
60,000 remained in Mexico for their process.
I
just did.
Okay.
And I didn't know you can see people will apply for process down there. But what I'm saying is that if you wanted, you could have done an actual immigration bill that would have addressed so many different layers of this problem, including the massive backlog we have of asylum seekers. And that was the issue.
You're super passionate about asylum seekers.
Because that was the issue. That was the problem.
You're super passionate about asylum seekers. I'll ask you this. Where do the super majority, not 50, 60%, more than 90% of asylum seekers, true asylum seekers, not bullshit asylum seekers, where did they seek asylum? If we're talking about Venezuelans.
Are we going to say like the country of first entry where they arrived at first?
They go to their neighboring country. More than 92%, according to statistics, actually go to their neighboring country. So let me ask you this. If you're facing legitimate asylum, first of all, are you going to track all the way up to the southern border, pay thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars sometimes because you're bringing your family to pay the cartels to then have a legitimate asylum case and then enter illegally, not through the port of entry? If you have a legitimate asylum case, you can adjudicate that in the United States with temporary protective status in the United States. You don't have to sit in Mexico and wait for your asylum case.
So why would they go for asylum over a TPS?
Why would they go for asylum over TPS? Because asylum is much easier to seek in the United States and then be granted TPS, right?
TPS is limited.
Let me ask you this. When the individual entered the United States and is seeking asylum, what do they grant him?
What do they grant them?
Yeah, while they adjudicate their case.
Are you going to talk about how they issued them a receipt to show up at their case, and you're talking about relief?
Give them temporary protective status.
Yeah,
right.
Because they're waiting for their case to be adjudicated.
Of course, yeah.
So it would have been nice if we had more judges to adjudicate these cases, like the border bill would have given us.
It would be nice, like we have right now, a 99.8% reduction in amount of individuals not only crossing the border illegally, but coming to the.
So the number is not true. Just to be clear, the number's not real.
Yeah, those are real, but it's fine. It's the usual step.
What is Trump doing to get rid of what is Trump doing to get rid of the 5 or 10 million asylum seekers that are already in the United States?
He's trying every legal means that he can possibly can.
So nothing. So he hasn't done anything.
Well, did he try and enact the Aliens Enemies Act to remove individuals out of the country with limited due process and no process
from Venezuela, and that act requires us to be at war with the country, or for them to be invaded us, which is probably not true.
Well, okay. Well, there's actually a really detailed article about.
To be clear, there's absolutely no detailed argument about how that can work. The only way that it does is to confound basically the gangs with the actual Venezuelan government, and to say because they have some members that are inside the government that account for
report about how the Venezuelan government, the Maduro regime, trained paratroopers to come into the United States, go to various states in the United States. Again, I don't really give a shit about that.
Oh, I thought you said you cared about policy and rule of law. I do.
Clearly you don't, because you don't think that 15,000 people coming into the country illegally on a daily basis is not a problem. And
I did think it was a problem. That's why I supported the bill.
You just said, no,
but I prefer to have legislation from Congress for immigration rather than just executive orders from the president.
It's not a crisis.
Do you think executive orders are better, or do you think legislation
from New Yorkers? Can we finish?
Like, what do you think?
Point, or you
no, because you just keep. It's like a quiz. I'm curious. Do you think that it would have been better to pass the bill, or just to do things via executive action?
I think it's better to deter. When you don't have an answer to that? Is
it better to have comprehensive border legislation or an executive order that can be restated by the next president?
The crisis, you deter the crisis from happening. And once you don't have a crisis anymore, you can focus on reforming the immigration law.
So if after 4 years, if Trump doesn't have an immigration bill, do you think that would have been a failure of this administration?
I think that if they don't reform the asylum and close the loopholes when it comes down to asylum now that we don't have the crisis at the southern border, I think that'll be a failure by the administration. Absolutely. But it's a whole...
Yeah, then we'll wait and see what happens in 4 years when they don't have another border bill.
Well, we'll come back here in about 3.5 years.
Okay.
I just want to end this with asking you one more time. When 15,000 people are entering the country illegally on a daily basis, what is the primary issue? Is it once they're in the country or them actually coming to the border from all over the world?
The way you're phrasing your question, it sounds like you're alluding to the fact that there could be that issues that the country of Mexico faces due to destabilization on the border because of all the different presence of crime and people who are paying for passage. Or is there any other quiz?
I'm asking you, what is the primary issue?
It depends on which interested party you're talking about. I don't
care about parties. I'm asking you. I'm not asking
for me. It doesn't matter to me at all. It doesn't affect me.
Who am I debating?
Well,
I'm debating you about immigration, right?
Yes.
So I'm asking you, when
you're asking me what is the primary issue?
You said that there is a crisis.
You asked me what the primary issue was, and I asked you as per which interested party, because different parties have different prerogatives.
I don't care about parties. I'm asking you.
How can you be evaluated?
You.
Okay, from me.
Yeah,
I'm a rich person that lives in the United States, and I don't care. It doesn't affect me. What do you mean?
Care?
Because it doesn't have a personal negative impact on my existence. What do you mean?
Have any friends that died from fentanyl or something?
My family's from Cuba, so I'm a big fan of illegal immigration, I guess, when it comes to getting to this.
My parents are from USSR. I'm from Israel. I came into the country legally. What does that have? I can't stand illegal immigrants because they abuse
illegally. A lot of my family came here illegally.
Okay.
Well, I guess wet foot, dry foot, maybe it was legal, but I think that trying to find a way to reduce the overall amount of illegal immigrants in the country, I think would be a beneficial thing. And I think reducing the amount of people that could get into the country illegally would also be a beneficial thing. I think on the back,
Trump supporter to me all of a sudden.
Well, but on the backside of that, one, Trump isn't doing anything really to alleviate any of the people here. He's wasting a ton of money on theatrics that are probably just going to make everybody hate immigration.
Give me some examples.
Like the horse march through MacArthur Park recently, I think was really bad. The invocation of the Alien Enemies Act was a joke. Shipping people to El Salvador has just been a giant L. All of the court fights where they're hiding information from judges.
Would you like this administration to actually deport the illegal immigrants that came in the country with no legitimate asylum case in the last 3.5 years?
I think that increasing the amount of judges available to adjudicate the asylum cases so we can work through the backlog quicker, I think would be good. So that you can find the delegitimate cases and just ship them out as quickly as possible. I think a reformation of the asylum seeking process is essential. It's too easy to just sneak into the country, claim asylum, and then get a catch and release receipt and stay here for 3 years. I think that
you have this luxury when you have 15,000 people coming into the country illegally every single day.
Then pass legislation to change the way that you process people on the border.
I'll ask you the question again. Do you think that you can do exactly what you said while you have 15,000
You can do both at the same time, yes.
You can do both at the same time. So how are you going to deter the illegal immigrants from coming up to the southern border from all over the world while also reforming the immigration law?
Well, part of the bill was literally capping the amount of people that were allowed to come in such that you could turn people away, even if they were claiming asylum.
Stop illegal immigrants from all over the world wanting to come up to the southern border.
Everybody's going to want to come here. What do you mean?
No, well, suddenly we don't have everybody wanting to come up to the southern border. We don't see these.
If there was a cap on the amount of people coming in, then it would stop people from wanting to come. They wouldn't get in on the same numbers. Yes.
If they were, 5,000 people can come into the country every day illegally. After that, we cap it. You think that people from all over the world will suddenly stop to come?
Yeah, because the amount of people that would come in would be significantly decreased. Yes.
Oh, we'll see. I mean, that's a hypothesis. But the reality of it is, we can look at it objectively, is that we have a president that came in and enforced 8 U.S. Code 1325, which criminalizes illegal entry into the United States, does not allow the asylum 1158 to be prioritized over that. And that deters migrants from wanting to come up to the border, because when they think about an administration that will actually enforce the rule of law, they're not going to be wanting to come up to the southern border. No,
there is no conflict between.
Why does zero tolerance policy deter migrants from completely wanting to enter the country?
There's no conflict between U.S. law and the asylum seeking process. The asylum seeking process was completely legal. That's why it needs to be reformed, because it was being abused.
Well, I agree with that. But
okay. So to say that we finally had a president who came in and enforced USC 1813, I don't know what the immigration one.
25 illegal entry into the United States. Why didn't the previous administration do that?
The previous administration was doing that, but you can't just kick people out who are claiming asylum because that was the law on the books.
So you allow individuals to come into the country illegally, say that they're seeking asylum, detain them for 48 hours, and then put them on a plane to go where?
You don't know. You don't know. Hold on. You just said assume. You don't know if they're coming in illegally. If they're running asylum, you have to adjudicate the case.
They're running into a Border Patrol agent after they didn't enter the country through a port of entry. What is that?
Well, if you claim asylum, it's part of the asylum seeking process.
I don't care about that. When they enter,
if you don't care about the law, then we're talking about different things.
Not what I'm asking you.
If you come into the country between a port of entry and you claim asylum, that's part of the process.
When they didn't enter the country through the port of entry, what kind of crossing is that?
Depends on what their intention was.
I don't care about their intention.
Well, the law literally calls intention out. The one that you were citing, so the intention is pretty important. Do you want my personal opinion, like moral opinion, or do you want the law?
I don't care what you provide me. I'm asking you.
How can you ask me two totally different? They're different questions. Do you care about the law, or do you care what my opinion is?
Both. I don't know.
I mean, my opinion would align with the law. If you come here like meaningfully and intentionally trying to seek asylum because you feel like you have a legitimate case, I think that's fine.
Do you think 10 million of them had a legitimate asylum case in 3 years?
Not.
Okay. So what are they doing? They're gaming the system, right?
Yes, of course. That's what I've said. Yes, for this entire conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
You need to figure out a way to make them stop gaming the system.
Okay.
If it was just a matter of enforcing the law, we wouldn't have needed an executive order from Trump to do it, right?
Again, I kind of want to just circle back to how were we able to deter so many illegal immigrants from coming into the country without actually doing any of that, without fixing the asylum process, without any policy, with no zero tolerance being implemented whatsoever?
If you want to do a crappy job, then you can half-ass it like Trump did by just being stricter on the border, but it's not addressing any of the anywhere from 5 to 15 million. People give different numbers for how many are here right now on the asylum seeking process.
You care about the secondary issue because no longer is a Democrat administration. You wouldn't be doing that if it was the previous administration.
I would be. That's why I supported Biden when he wanted to pass the bill that would have addressed both issues.
Did you care about it in 2022? Where we were at like heights?
It was hard to say after 2022 what exactly.
What about 2023, early 2023? Because that bill didn't get introduced till early 2024.
Sure, there were a lot of other things going on. Inflation was our huge issue that we were fighting against at that point.
Yeah, but we still had a crisis at the southern border.
So
we had 15,000 people coming in every single day.
What's the crisis? How is that affecting us? And where do we see that?
Sure. I want you to go to New York City, Chicago,
I want
Denver.
you to tell me I've been to New York City and Chicago in the past 3 months.
If you finish letting me, I promise, right? You just handle yourself a little bit and we can get through it. If you go to New York City and you talk to non-traditional Republicans who are definitely not some pro-Trumpers or cultists or whatever the case is, they go to city council meetings and lay it to the city council members, the mayors, whatever it is. Why?
Because it's what they've been told on conservative news. So tell me, give me what's happening.
Non-traditional Republican cultists are being brainwashed by what? Fox News?
By whatever AI videos that they see, by people like Charlie Kirk or whatever AI videos they see on Instagram or TikTok. So the reason why you can't answer this question is because it's not really the crisis that everybody says it was.
It's propaganda when New York City has to take $6 billion out of their budget, taxpayer budget, and allocate it towards illegal immigration, whether it's housing or whatever the program may be. This is why you guys lose elections. This is why you lost the previous election. You lost every single battleground state because you do this thing. You say that illegal immigration is not a problem.
And the same president lost the election in 2020. So I mean,
I agree with that.
So I don't know what the point is.
You're going to have a gotcha moment on me. He lost the election in 2020.
You're saying, I think we lost the election on inflation. I think that was the big issue that.
What was number one, number two?
I don't really care what it polls on. I know people vote on the economy. They say illegal immigration. And I think that the thing was.
It's the classic thing that you reject it. And then once you see that you don't have any room to reject it anymore, you say, yeah, it's happening, but it's not that bad, actually.
I don't know, you're shadow boxing right now, but no, I'm always like pretty critical of polling data. Like when you poll people on questions, like they're giving you answers and they mean different things depending on what you're looking at. I think that the big issue on this election was inflation. I think you saw it in basically governments around the entire world. I think everybody was kind of upset about the inflation over the coronavirus period.
Well, the number two issue consistently for American voters for over a year was immigration.
And it's crazy that all of the complaints about that seemed to disappear as soon as Trump came into office, despite the fact that he hasn't really deported anybody from all of the deportation. That's fine, but all these people were here were a problem.
What happened in the first month, Destiny? What happened in the first month?
Nothing happened with regards to the 10 million people that are here illegally.
Southern border.
Nothing happened when it came to the people that were already here.
Nothing happened. I don't care about the people that are already here. That is something that we're going to have to.
This is the game we're going to play. I'll just keep repeating myself while you keep repeating yourself. Nothing happened for the 10 million people that are here.
You want to avoid what happened in the first month of President Trump's presidency, second term, when it came down to immigration. That's fine. I don't have a problem talking to you about ICE proceedings and what it comes down to deportation and how they handle deportation. But you keep avoiding.
I haven't avoided it at all. Trump shut down the border. He managed to stop people from coming in, but nothing's being done about all the people here. And I don't think anything will be done about the people here.
Yeah. And you wanted a bipartisan bill in order to accomplish that.
Because the bill would have accomplished both of those things. And both halves of Congress are ready to support it until Trump shot it down because he said, I want to keep the border open for my election.
So Trump called the congressman and said, hey, we can't pass this because I've got to win an election.
Yep.
You don't think that House Republicans...
Nope. Ted Cruz explicitly said this. McConnell said as much.
Not finished?
Langford complained about this.
Finished? You don't think that congressional Republicans have their own mind and say, hey, you know what? That actually doesn't deter illegal immigrants from coming to the southern border.
No, of course. In this administration, if you don't follow Trump, he'll try to primary you. He'll kick you out. They enforce...
It worked out for Massey too.
Massey is literally being attacked right now, yes, by Trump. What happened to all the never-Trump Republicans?
He already did this in 2022 and he failed, so...
You don't think Trump has ejected never-Trumpers from...
He has, but it's not going to uphold all the time.
Not all the time, but that's a political calculation now that you have to keep in mind that if you try to go against the Trump agenda...
That happens on the cultist left, right?
Absolutely not.
I mean, why do they vote in blocks on every single thing?
What do you mean blocks on every single thing?
In the previous administration, how many times did they have 50 senators agree on a bill?
Do you think that there's more partisanship on the left or more partisanship with the Republicans?
You tell me.
I think the Republicans are the black voters right now.
Okay. So in the previous administration, did Republicans work with congressional Democrats and the previous president in order to pass whatever bills?
Because Biden made an exceptional effort. Yeah, or exceptional effort to work with them. Yeah.
Okay. So why do you think it's opposite when it's a Republican president? Why do Democrats refuse to work whatsoever, except a couple,
Because Democrats would go out of their way to negotiate with other senators and House members in the House.
Yeah,
you can laugh, but I mean, like, there's a reason why Republicans don't even try. Republicans don't even try to negotiate with the Democrats.
The only thing that can afford you is with this past CR, because they knew that they wouldn't be able to pass everything with Democrats. Why? Because Democrats don't want to work with the Republicans. It's as simple as that.
For the first time in all of U.S. history, Republicans couldn't even hold onto their majority House seat.
What do you mean?
When it was the whole McCarthy debacle and the majority House.
Yeah, that's what happens when you rule with a slim majority.
No.
You have various.
What happens? That was the first time in U.S. history.
You have various, which I love about the Republican Party.
I love the failure to govern.
I love the fact that there are various ideologies in the Republican Party. Unlike on your side, you have ultra progressives, and then you have whatever you are. I don't know what the fuck you are.
Yeah. It's just completely, totally not true, but
it's true. I mean, that's just the honest reality of it. That's why you guys can pass comprehensive reform when it comes down to immigration.
Biden passed so much massive legislation compared to Trump doing nothing.
The only thing I think that was good that Biden did was the CHIPS Act. I don't know any other policy that was beneficial for the United States. So
I mean, I would say the American Rescue Plan helped us significantly come out of the COVID.
Sure, I'll give you that. But that's about it.
I think that the Inflation Reduction Act, I thought was it was nice to pass a bill that was actually deficit neutral over 10 years. I think that was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to Trump passing tax cuts and destroying the budget more and more every single time he's in office, I would say it's nice.
What kind of tax cuts?
The Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
Yeah. Who does that benefit?
Overwhelmingly wealthier people, but
how so?
By giving them a greater absolute and percentage deduction in the amount of income that they have to pay to the federal government.
Is that according to like IRS data or something?
I mean, it's to the way the law is written. When you have a reduction,
to IRS data.
I don't know about IRS data, but if you look at the way that the tax brackets are adjusted, like the people who are going to save the most money are going to
see that reflected in IRS data.
I don't need IRS data to look at a marginal tax bracket table and see who's going to save more money.
Okay, so we had the 2017 Jobs Act, or the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, right? That reduced the income brackets for all earners. Do you know what it was?
What reduce the
income brackets, like the percentage of the income earners pay.
Like comprehensively, I know that each bracket I think fell anywhere from like 2 to 3% or something, or 2 to 3 points.
Individuals earning between $15,000 and $50,000 a year received a tax break between 16 to 26%. Individuals between $50,000 and $100,000, which I consider the average American, got a tax break about 15 to 17%. And the higher you go, the lower it gets.
So for the bottom people, these people already are.
This sounds like a progressive tax cut to me.
Probably not. So for the people on the bottom, if you're making $15,000 to $50,000, your tax footprint is almost already zero for federal income tax.
Okay.
Number one. So that's a strange pairing of people to put together. Making $15,000 a year is significantly different than making $50,000 a year.
I mean, that's the income tax bracket.
Sure, that's fine. But I'm saying when you're talking about money saved, like the amount of money that the $15,000 a year person is paying in taxes is probably going to be quite a bit different than the $50,000, whether you're talking percentage or anything else.
Sure.
But the fact that there's a massive amount of money that is being returned to wealthy people that is hurting the federal by cutting tax brackets for people that are on the upper echelons of income.
Well, it's a progressive tax cut, right? So again, the 15,000 to 50,000 receive a 16 to 26, 50,000 to 100,000 receive 15 to 17%, 100,000 to 200 receive 10 to 12%. Above $1 million, they got 2%. And nobody making more than $2 million in terms of a household received a tax break. They actually ended up paying 2% more in tax.
How did you not receive a tax break if the marginal tax bracket was reduced?
Because the individuals above 2 million weren't affected by that. It didn't affect those individuals. They may benefit from it in corporate taxes if they're, corporations or whatever the case may be.
Didn't the top tax bracket came down, no?
I'm telling you what I know based on IRS tax data, right?
It doesn't make any sense if you...
This was 2017, right? Just to clarify.
2017.
If the tax bracket came down...
The
tax bracket came down at the top, then it doesn't matter if you're making over 2 million or 10
How are you making that claim?
Because I file my taxes.
Okay. So you make more than $2 million and you saw a reduction in your taxes?
Yes, of course. Because if the tax brackets are falling, then the income that you...
Well, again, I just told you based on IRS data.
You told me based on an article you read, you're reciting me a number, but I'm just telling you that that's not how taxes work.
This is a careful analysis of IRS data. You can fact check this later on the screen.
Do you think of the majority of the money that wasn't paid...
Household income earners over $2 million did not see a tax reduction. Yeah, you're sitting here and telling me that you saw that. I'm asking you through how? Like what loophole did you find?
It's not a loophole. It's just a reduction in your tax bracket.
Okay.
Is a reduction in the amount of taxes that you owe to the federal government. When the bracket goes down, either
you don't make over $2 million or you're just lying because you got caught in a lie here.
Do you know how a below the line or above the line deduction works? Have you ever filed taxes before?
No.
Okay.
I'm 29 years old. I don't file taxes.
Okay. Well, when you start to file taxes, you'll know that when you apply the tax brackets to your AGI, to your adjustable gross income, the amount that you owe on that income is going to reduce.
I forgot liberals don't understand humor.